Win rate alone doesn't tell us what the deadlock meta actually is. Popularity, hero class composition, and most importantly, the exact combinations of team comps being played together dramatically change how we should interpret hero strength. My name is Erase. I've been playing Deadlock on and off for the last 2 years. I studied math in college and I decided to take this on as a little passion project to practice my Python, SQL, and data visualization skills as I'm currently unemployed. Um, so naturally, I locked myself in my room for 80 hours going through this data of over 140,000 ranked matches from the first week of ranked play. So you don't have to, and so that we can know what to base our ranked meta strategies thoughts on rather than just feels and vibes. To set the ground rules, the scope of this video covers hero match quantity, win rates, hero class frequency within matches, class win rates, and full team comps, their frequencies, and their win rates. What this data set is not, at least for today's video, is split by rank tiers or tracked over time across individual days or the week or even match durations to see how, match duration affects win rates for certain heroes or team comps. Today, what we are looking at is the overall macro telemetry of the first week of ranked. Now, unfortunately, as I started recording this video, new patch notes dropped for Deadlock, and some heroes got nerfed. And honestly, from what you will see here, it will not surprise you why those heroes got nerfed. So, without further ado, let's get directly into the data and see what is actually noteworthy. Hello? There we go. So, graph 1. Hero total matches and win rate by descending win rate. We've all seen this graph. It's the same one as StatLocker, although it's a little bit different right now as this is the first week of ranked. At least that's when I ingested all this data. So it's going to look a little bit different from today's data or whatever day you see this from. However, moving on from there, I color coded each bar according to the hero type classification that I ingested directly from the Deadlock Community API database, which I'm assuming they pulled directly from Valve's internal JSON files. So as we can see, right off the bat, the top 6 win rate heroes are Victor, Seven, McGinnis, Graves, and Kelvin, and Page. So right away, we see a clear dominance of Mystic heroes with 3 out of 6 being in the top 6. The reason I chose 6 is because there's 6 on a team instead of the usual top 5. Then Brawlers take the next top 2 out of 6, and Marksman, Graves, takes just 1 spot. Now, one thing that was really interesting was that we didn't see any assassins in the top 6 win rate heroes. However, the top 5 assassins out of 9 assassins that are classified by, I think, Valve hold the top 10th through 14th place overall in win rate. And they all do hold above a 50% win rate, with all of them holding an even above 51% win rate. After reordering the hero tier list by match frequency rather than win rate, we get a completely different picture. Suddenly, the top 3 of 6 heroes are assassins with 2 marksmen, 1 brawler, right? So completely flips it over its head. We have 3, 2, and 1. Now, interestingly, out of the top 3 most frequently played heroes, only 3 have a positive win rate, with the 7th most played hero, 7, sitting at one of the highest win rates in the game with a 55% win rate. Now, we do see a pretty sharp drop off in match frequency across the rest of the roster. Goes down 7K, and as we can see, it just continues dropping pretty dramatically down to the lowest the least played hero being Sinclair at 20K, having less than 4 times the amount of matches as Lash. So, for this next graph, I decided to explicitly highlight the extremes: the highest and lowest win rates, the most and least played, and Viper. Now, you may be asking why Viper, and that's because she is a good complement to the other 4, right? So, as we can see here, Victor is the hero with the highest win rate. Lash is the most played hero. Viper is the second to least played hero with a positive win rate. Sinclair is the least played hero total with a negative win rate. And Mirage has the lowest win rate of all heroes. Now, one thing that you can see here is that even though the top 3 heroes, Victor, Lash, and Viper, that I highlighted, have over 50% win rate, their match quantity or their play frequency actually varies very greatly. I think that's very significant, because oftentimes we complain about heroes with the highest win rate and we completely gloss over the fact that some heroes like Lash have almost doubled the amount of matches as Victor, the hero with the highest win rate. So once you do the math, you will see that Lash has won almost as many games as Victor has played, and he has won more than a third of the cast even has games. Lash doesn't just have double the total matches played as Victor, he also dominates at 52% win rate, while he holds the 10th highest overall win rate. On the opposite side, we have Sinclair, who has the absolute lowest number of matches played in ranked in the first week of ranked, yet he is surprisingly not the lowest win rate hero. That dishonor is given to Mirage. Mirage, another character that the community complains about, yet is in very few games statistically compared to other heroes, and holds a negative win rate. So, while we may jump to immediate hot take conclusions such as nerf Bebop, I think this data leads to far more interesting questions. For example, why are certain heroes systematically over or underperforming? Is it simply a matter of tweaking numerical balances like base damage for abilities or guns or weapons, or is there a deeper structural reason tied to draft dynamics? I argue it is much, much deeper. Pause. Many claim to know exactly what the meta is and isn't, but people tend to be confused. Like today, people will be confused about why certain heroes got nerfs and some didn't. But up until today, almost every single tier list or all these analysis have been based on personal feelings and experiences, or overly simplistic data analysis, like just reading a single win rate column. So I propose a better lens: meta influence. This is where I think the standard win rate conversation starts to break down. A hero's impact on the meta isn't just how often they win, their win rate, it is oftentimes about how they're shaping the game across multiple games and in which direction. So in this graph, I present to you the top 6 most frequently played winning heroes. At the very top, we have Lash, then we have Drifter, then Wraith, then Seven, and finally Billy and Mo and Krill. That breaks down to 2 Assassins, 1 Marksman, 1 Mystic, and 2 Brawlers. Yet, if we go beyond Valve's back-end hero types, which these are probably the hero types used for team making in the matchmaker, 3 of these 6 heroes are highly mobile pick heroes that excel in early to mid game. One is a tanky, high damage bruiser. One is an elite side laner hyperscaling duelist. And one is a hybrid hyperscaling AoE damage dealer. East, but the people in the community keep saying that we are in an AoE damage slot meta, especially since the earn changes earlier this year. However, if we look at the actual pick volume and win rate, we can see that it is quite true. For the following graphs, we're going to sort by hero type to analyze how individual heroes are performing within their specific class archetype. First, we shall see the Brawler class. At the very top, we have Victor with the highest win rate and Bebop with the lowest win rate, with an over 10%, with an almost 10% win rate gap, yet featuring a very large discrepancy in total matches played for both of these heroes. This shows that while Bebop is a fan favorite terrorist pick, he is the single most underperforming brawler in the entire class, with 4 out of the 8 brawlers hovering right around 50% win rate with a tight 1% margin, and 2 sitting on the extreme ends of either spectrum. I argue that brawlers are one of the most balanced classes. This is especially true when you look at the overperformers and the underperformers. When we go to this graph, we see that the 2 underperformers, Bebop and Shiv, have the highest and third highest pick rates, while the 2 overperformers, Victor and Kelvin, both have the third lowest and the lowest pick rates. So, I think this strongly suggests that the overperformers tend to be niche counter picks, while the underperformers face a wide variety of bad matchups and higher player skill variance. Now, Mystics seem to be a bit more balanced in terms of match frequency, but they represent the most volatile and unbalanced class performance-wise, at least in terms of win rate. Not a single Mystic hero sits comfortably around 50% win rate. Every single one deviates from 50% by at least a 2% margin, with 4 overperforming and 5 greatly underperforming. Okay. When we order Mystics by match frequency, we see that 3 out of the 4 most played Mystics are overperformers, while 3 of the 4 least played Mystics are underperformers. I think one potential explanation is that a common trait amongst the top Mystics is an elite wave clear. So you have 7, Page, and Dynamo that have Massive AoE damage that allows them to push lanes efficiently, defend objectives, apply debuffs, and carry teamfights with high utility. Now, moving on to the marksman. The marksman. There is a huge drop off from the top two most played heroes to the next five, to then the rest, and then to the last two. When we organize by win rate, we see that 7 of the 12 marksmen have a sub 50% win rate, while only two, right here, where it's going to be Holiday and Celeste, hovering around 50%, and 3 overperforming above a 52% win rate. Five of 12 marksmen have fewer than 40,000 matches played. So that's going to be these four, as compared to, if we look over here at the Mystics, as compared to 4 and 2 from the Brawlers. And if we scroll all the way down here to the Assassins, just 3 Assassins. 3 of 9, 5 of 12, 4 of 9, and 2 of 8. Now, when we look at these marksmen, 3 of the top 4 most played heroes are overperforming. 2 of them excel at split pushing. 1 is a high mobility support / damage dealer, that's Ivy, and 1 is an infinite weapon damage stacking pick hero, Vindicta. Now, Infernus stands out as a fan favorite who heavily underperforms. This is likely because Infernus struggles to get picks, clear waves, or take objectives without expending major resources, such as his Flame Dash, which frequently correlates with poor trade efficiency and easy punishment. When we look at the Assassins from a win rate perspective, they appear to be one of the more balanced classes overall, while enjoying some of the highest pick rates in the game. Aside from 2 out of 9 Assassins, Pocket and Mirage, the remaining 7 Assassins lay between 48 to 52% win rate, with Lash being slightly over, so we're just going to include them anyways. However, there is a sharp drop in pick rate when we look at them. From the top 3 Assassins to the next 3 to the last 3. The top, but one thing is undeniable. The top 3 Assassins by win rate, Lash, Calico, and Drifter, are in the top 4 of the Assassins by total matches played. However, Calico has almost half as many games as Lash and Drifter, sitting at 44,000 compared to 70,000 and 79,000. So, the fact that Drifter and Lash are heavily overrepresented across ranked games while maintaining a plus 51% win rate suggests that they are overtuned and performed well across far too many matchups and team comps. Win rate. The top, one thing that I found really funny about this graph was that the top and bottom win rates of each class are some of the most complained about heroes in the entire game. Victor, Bebop, Seven, the Doorman, Graves, Venator, Lash, and Mirage. Speaking of overrepresentation, this graph highlights every hero based on total matches played relative to their win rate. The longer the bar, the more over or underrepresented the hero is compared to their win rate. from top to bottom, we have Bebop, Infernus, and Haze, who are massively overrepresented despite underperforming with an atrocious 45.85% win rate for Bebop, 48.09% win rate for Infernus, and 48.68 for Haze. On the flip side, we have Drifter and Lash, and to a lesser degree, Wraith over here. If I remember correctly, Drifter and Wraith both got nerfed on this patch of today, August 12th, who are overwhelmingly overrepresented while maintaining high win rates or overperforming. So, if you're looking to climb, these are some of the strongest heroes to build your drafts around. At least they were up until today's nerfs. Now, we shall see if they continue to be so. I believe that they will continue to overperform despite their nerfs, at least at first glance. But we shall see in the following week. Now, if we look over here at the underrepresented heroes that are overperforming, we find Apollo, Viper, Kelvin, and McGinnis. Now, while I had claimed that Viper had too few games for her inclusion to be statistically relevant, and but that both but that Apollo, Kelvin, and McGinnis were high value niche picks. Kelvin offers massive healing grenades with Kelvin offers massive healing nades and his dome Kelvin offers massive healing through his grenades and his dome, while McGinnis grants a 40% spirit damage resistance or reduction while healing with her medicinal scepter. Uh, if you saw the patch notes, you would have seen that Viper got buffed while Apollo and McGinnis got nerfed. I am not sure why Kelvin escaped nerfs, even though I argue that he probably should have got nerfed. Kelvin offers massive healing through his grenades and his dome, while McGinnis grants a 40% spirit damage resistance. Now, this graph looks a little similar, but it is supposed to be about global presence and global win rate and their differential. By global presence, I mean what percentage of all ranked matches played in week 1 had this hero. And global win rate represents the percentage of all ranked matches played that were won by a team having that hero. Now, let's look at the actual math. In week 1, there were 141,968 games that I analyzed. Out of those 141,968 games, Lash was in 79,486, 480 of them. That gives Lash a 56% global presence. That means he was in more than half of every ranked game played in the first week. Now, Lash was on the winning team in 41,338 of those matches, meaning that Lash personally won 29.1% of all ranked matches played in week 1. And as you another thing to note is that I colored these bars based off of the personal win rate of that hero. Green if there had positive win rate, red if there was negative win rate. At first glance, you can see that heroes that are played more generally win more, and heroes that are played less generally win less. So, it makes sense. It's the first week of ranked. People want to play what feels strong to climb. So, and if a character and if a character is strong, like Lash and Drifter, more people are going to play them. They're going to constantly be getting picked. But if a hero is perceived as strong, for example, Bebop and Haze, they will get picked constantly, whether it's statistically true or not that they are strong. Same with Infernus. But this graph is crucial for game balance discussions. For example, should Viper be nerfed for holding a 51.33% personal win rate, even though she only appears in 13.9% of matches, of all ranked matches, and has only won 71% of all global ranked matches? The answer is no. And the reason we know this is because Yoshi just buffed Viper. Should Sinclair be buffed when he has a 13.8% global presence and a 6.5% global win rate? Probably. Or maybe he just needs his remodel to get more people to play him. Now, on the upper end, should Lash really be in every other match while winning nearly a third of all global matches? Probably not. So he got nerfed. We'll see how that plays out. Should Victor, over here is Victor right here, while being in less than a third of matches while winning while winning a little over a sixth of them, be nerfed? Maybe. And we'll see how these nerfs that we saw today, and the Viper buff, we'll see how that changes the meta. But I think that today's patch really solidifies my argument that we as a community, when we debate about the meta, we shouldn't just talk about raw win rate, like for characters like Victor or Viper, but that we need to be talking about meta influence, a metric combining raw win rate with total global presence. Let's look at the hero classes as a whole. This table shows the unweighted average win rate across all heroes in a hero type. First glance, we see that Brawlers are sitting at 50.66% win rate, Mystics at 50.18, Assassin 49.61, and Marksman 49.29. Now, because it's a simple average across heroes, high or low win rate outliers in each class drag their under or overperforming class to 50%. This also follows a trend of Valve trying to have an even amount of, or a balanced amount of heroes in a class type in per match, sorry, per comp per match. However, it is quite shocking that both Assassins and Marksmen dragged the underperforming dragged their overperforming peers well below the expected 50%, especially when you just take an average. So that was just a simple average, and as what we talked about, we don't want to just look at simple averages. So I decided to look at the weighted win rate by hero type. So what that means is that I added the total wins of every hero in their hero type and then divided by the total matches of that hero type to find their win rate. So this means that the higher a hero's pick rate, the more weight they have when it comes to their win rate. Here, Mystics appear as a top overperforming class overall, with Brawlers and assassins sitting at about 50% win rate, and marksmen greatly underperforming as a collective group. This means that there was such high amount of marksmen with high pick rates, with negative win rates, that they dragged their whole team away from 50%. And the inverse can be said for the Mystics. So, this suggests that Mystics and Brawlers are stronger overall macro choices in this dataset, while Assassins and Marksmen are weaker as a whole, even if individual Assassins like Lash and Drifter or overperforming Marksmen like Graves and Ivy are heavily overperforming their specific matches relative to their hero type. Since Deadlock is a competitive MOBA, and Valve's balancing goal is for heroes to sit reasonably close to 50% win rate. A perfectly balanced roster clusters tightly around the center. And the further the win rate distribution goes in either direction, the more evidence we have that specific kits or the specific kits are systematically overperforming over here or underperforming. If we evaluate our hero roster against a standard target distribution centered at 50% with 2% standard deviation band, a healthy roster would see 65% of all heroes, around 26 heroes, sitting between 48 to 52%. However, only 15 to, however, only 15 out of 39 heroes, or 39%, not 65, sit at that 48 to 52% win rate. That 52%, 48 to 52% healthy corridor. 26 heroes, or 74% of all heroes, fall between 46 and 54%, rather than the expected 36 heroes, or 95%. That'd be two standard deviations, leaving a wide tail of severe outliers in either direction. This wide dispersion proves that hero balance in week 1 was far from a tight clustering around 50%. Now, now that we've thoroughly analyzed individual heroes, it's time for the real climax of this video: compositions. I said earlier that in the first week of ranked matches I had ingested there were 141,968 matches. Since every match has two teams, that means there are 283,936 total team compositions for the first week of ranked. So, being a mathematician, I went down another rabbit hole, as any mathematician does. How many different 6-hero team comp combinations are actually possible? By different combinations, I mean there are no duplicate heroes and the order of the heroes doesn't matter. If there were no restrictions, the answer is 2.78 billion possible team compositions. So then I went down another rabbit hole. Honestly, this whole project is one giant rabbit hole because I kept losing matches because my teammates kept fucking throwing. I got tilted and I got tired of losing, so I decided to look into why I am losing. Because it's obviously not me, so it's got to be the meta or it's got to be my teammates. So that leads us back to the ranked analysis. With 283,000 team compositions played during the first week, how many of those were unique and how many were duplicates of compositions that had already been played? The answer is there was 184,788 unique team comps and 99,148 repeated instances of those other 184,000 unique team comps that we had already seen. But So, roughly 34.9% of all team comps played were duplicates of another comp. That got me wondering. Of that, but that got me wondering about the 184,788 unique team comps. How many of those only happened once? I found that 143,468 unique team comps, or 77.64%, appeared only once, while 36,538, or 19.77% of all unique team comps appeared 2 to 4 times, while 6,868 team comps appeared 3.71%. Wait a second. 3.7 plus 19.7, that's 23 plus 77. What the fuck? That's more than 100. I'll be right back. So I'm back. I did the math wrong. Instead of 36,538, it was actually 34,452. So 2,000 less, or 18.64%, not 19.77. When you do that math, it goes to 100%. Repeating unique team comps were in almost 50% of all ranked matches. So with low frequency unique team comps, those appearing between 2 to 4 times, making up 29.49% of the total ranked matches. The team comps that were repeated more than 5 times made up 56,712 matches, or 19.97% of all matches. That is 1/5 of all team comps in ranked play for week 1. Think about that. 3.7 Think about that. Just 6,868 unique team comps, or 3.71% of all team comps, made up almost 20% of every single team slot in all ranked matches across week 1. Is this a good thing for meta diversity? No. No, it is not. That means that a tiny 3.7% slice of team comps is drastically overrepresented by over 5 times. It implies a rigid meta where players repeatedly log in the exact same meta team comps while dozens of other team comps are left to rot because they aren't deemed meta relevant. With millions of possible match rosters, that is, including both team comps, for every match, the fact that we constantly see the exact same few thousand team comps in every single game strongly suggests that week 1 had a rigid, restricted draft meta. Let's look at this graph. This graph plots unique team comps, blue, over match frequency thresholds on a logarithmic scale to make the decay readable for us. Otherwise, going from 41,000 to 1 on a single scale, on a single linear scale, would be unreadable. And the same can be said for 130,000 to 76. So, the red line shows the total matches played by those unique team comps, while the blue line represents the number of unique team comps. The green dashed line shows a theoretical linear decay reference, and the last line, this orange one, represents a theoretical exponential decay. Now, if we look at the x-axis, those numbers are representing thresholds of how many matches each unique team comp played. For for over 2 or 2 plus, we see that 41,000 we had 41,320 unique team comps being played at least twice with 138,038. Now, as we go over here, we have we have two teams that had over 70 matches with 149 total matches played between the two of them. Now, both blue and red lines decay faster than exponential curve. From a game design perspective, rapid decay is actually what we want to see. We don't want it to be linear. If we saw it be linear, we would have more team comps playing more total matches and and essentially enforcing a stricted, more rigid meta. However, this shows that both the unique team comps and the matches they play are actually decreasing very, very fast um, as we decrease the amount of match frequencies that we limit by. Next, let's look at hero type class differentials. A hero type differential is the net difference in class counts between two competing teams. For example, if team A had two brawlers and team B has one brawler, team A has a +1 brawler differential for each. So this graph shows the win rate for each class differential with the bar heights representing the sample size of matches that occurred at that differential. As expected, most games clustered between around even or near even differentials. So that's going to be 0 to +1. While extreme gaps such as +4 or +5 like over here, have tiny sample sizes. Immediately, this graph completely dismantles the common community myth, the idea that if the enemy team locks in multiple marksmen, you have to match them. The data proves that having more marksmen than the enemy team strongly correlates with a lower win rate. That means that you the data proves that having more marksmen than the enemy team strongly correlates with a lower win rate. Having the opposite is true for brawlers and mystics. Having a positive brawler differential correlates with higher win rates, and a positive mystic differential correlates with even higher win rates. Yet assassins, if we look over here, remain relatively neutral all across various differentials until reaching an extreme outlier of +5. One thing to note is that extreme differentials have very small sample sizes. For example, this +4 brawler differential with a 53.8% win rate only has 93 games out of over 140,000 matches. So, a +5 differential across something like 15 games isn't as statistically reliable as a +1 differential across 50,000 games. However, net differentials are generic. A +1 differential doesn't tell you if a game had one brawler on one side and zero on the other, or three brawlers on one side and two on the other. So I built the following graphs analyzing the exact count of each class on both teams. This graph has the brawler count of team 0 at the bottom, the brawler count of team 1 on the left, and this can be the same for all the other three graphs, with the circle size representing their match quantity along with the number inside representing or showing exactly how many matches there are or there were, with the color of each circle being those matches, um, the win rates that we saw for those matchups. Yeah, that's it. So while a +1 net differential in the previous graph showed a modest 50.1% win rate over here, when we come over here, we see that a 1 brawler versus 0 brawlers has above a 52% win rate, while a 2 brawler, while 2 brawlers, so 2 brawlers and 1 brawler matchup leads to a sub 50% win rate. The actual amount is 49.59%. While a 3 brawlers versus 2 brawlers goes even lower. 4 versus 3 goes down even more. But we have to note that the 4 brawlers versus 3 brawlers has a total match count of 7 total games, compared to 54,000 for 2 versus 1. The key takeaway: net differentials hide critical underlying context. A +1 brawler differential is not always winning. So let's go to Mystics. Mystics show a more consistent positive relation with team win rate up to a +3%, +3 class advantage. Also having high volumes. See 39,000, 10,000, 1,000, 300. Stacking Mystics on a team is statistically supported, at least for week 1. After this patch, we shall see, as both 7 and McGinnis got nerfed. Next, if we look at Assassins, we see that they are sitting around 50% all the way across high match volumes. It's not quite as one-sided, where having more assassins guarantees you win or that you lose. For example, over here, having 3 more assassins than the enemy team, when the enemy team has 0 and you have 3, tends to correlate with a higher win rate. But if you have 4 and the enemy team has 2, you drop below a 48% win rate. So assassins tend to be a little bit more of a coin flip when it comes to having um, positive differentials against the enemy team. Now, the most damning graph of all of them: having a positive marksman count at almost all amounts, having more marksmen than the enemy team leads to a lower win rate, or sorry, correlates to a lower win rate. It is not necessarily guaranteed you will lose, but having more marksmen correlates with worse win rates. What happens when we stop looking at generic class counts and look at the exact 6 hero comps that are being played together? What the fuck? Okay, over here. This graph shows the top 20 most frequent team comps across across all of week 1 ranked matches. Surprisingly, these top 20 most frequent team comps don't all have positive win rates. although 14 out of 20 of them do. These 20 lineups appeared in 1,054 matches. That is 0.74% of all matches played week 1, despite representing 0.01% of unique team comps. Yet, the single most played team comp in the entire game, right here, had a 55.26% win rate. The lineup, that exact lineup is Vindicta, Dynamo, Hayes, Epstein, Dwifta, and Billy. None of these heroes hold, surprisingly. Now, look at why this is fascinating. None of these heroes hold the single highest win rate individually. Bebop has a 45.85% win rate. Hayes has a 48.67% win rate. They both have negative win rates. Only 4 of 6 of them have positive win rates. But why does this lineup win over 55% of its matches despite running multiple sub 50% 50% heroes, win rate heroes? I think it's because this team has 2 infinite stacking weapon damage heroes, that's Dwifta and Vindicta, and infinite stacking, not sure if it's infinite anymore, it might still be limited to 100 or 200, uh, bomb slash hook threat with Bebop, an invisible disabling assassin with escalating damage in Haze, a percent health damage bruiser with Billy that has good sustain, and Dynamo's game-changing utility and teamfight ult to combine them all. It's a high potential. It's a high coordination pick potential. High coordination pick potential overcomes individual win rate weaknesses, or they cover their weaknesses pretty well. So, while this graph shows the top 20 most frequent team comps, this one shows the top 20 most frequent winning team comps. So, as you can see, lots of Dwifta, Infernus, Lash, decent amount of Vindicta. It's quite surprising because most people would say that Vindicta was extremely weak. Surprisingly, I don't see very much Victor here, but it does seem to, as we shall see, correlate with hero player. Okay. Here are the top 20 most frequent losing team comps, with lots of Infernus, lots of Bebop, decent amount of Haze. One thing I will say is that most frequent losing team comps have less overall matches than the most frequent winning team comps. Most frequent winning team comps have 939 total matches played, while the most frequent losing team comps have 864 total matches played, or about 80 matches less, or approximately about 10% less matches played. The fact that top winning team comps appear in noticeably more total games than top losing comps suggests that spamming optimized meta lineups leads to reliable ranked climbing. Now, so you don't have to individually count how many times each hero was in each lineup. I did it for you. So this is the hero frequency on the top 20 most frequent teams. As we can see, we have Lash, Drifter, and Furnace, Seven, Bebop, and Haze. If you remember, these are the most played heroes in ranked, just like we saw. Now, when we look at the hero frequency on the top 20 most frequent winning team comps, we see Drifter and Furnace at the top with a slight drop off. We then see Seven and Lash with another drop off. We then see Billy and Bebop, and it just continues to go down. And for the heroes appearing on the most frequent. Okay. So if a team drafts Drifter, Seven, Lash. So if a team drafts Drifter, Furnace, Seven, and Lash, I argue that's practically a free win, with those heroes dominating the top winning lineups, holding 50 to 70% win rates within those specific team comps, with many of these team comps having all 3 or 4 of them together. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Over here. Look, Furnace, 7, Drifter. Furnace, 7, Drifter, Lash, 7, Drifter, Furnace, 7, Drifter. It just seems like if you have Furnace, 7, and Drifter, you're stacked. Now, for the heroes on the 20 most frequent losing team comps, we have Bebop and Haze tied for the top at 13 of 20 appearances possible. That is almost 60%. Despite having early game pick power, Bebop lacks mobility and sustained frontline healing while being a brawler, and Haze being heavily nerfed. Players seem to be force picking them either because they love them or because they think they're strong into team comps that lack frontline synergy and also pick potential. Now, if we look at Infernus, he appears evenly for both team comps with both winning and losing team comps at 12 appearances each. I argue that Infernus is not a win condition, but a win securer. Now, if we look at this graph, where we graph hero type frequency across the top 20 team comps, completely out of team comp variations, completely out of context, it would appear to contradict everything we've built up to. At a glance, you'd think it refutes the idea that brawlers and mystics are strong, while assassins and marksmen are weak. But because the chart shows assassins flat across winning and losing team comps, brawlers being overrepresented in most frequent losing team comps and underrepresented in most frequent winning, marksman being slightly the opposite, and mystic being overwhelmingly on the most frequent team comps while being underrepresented on the losing team comps. But we have to look past the surface. If you remember correctly, brawlers and assassins spike in losing team comps, not because they're weak, but because Bebop and Haze, Bebop being the brawler, Haze being an assassin, are overrepresented while being underperformers, aka having losing win rates. Lash is a Lash appears evenly across top winning and top losing lineups. And I think this is because Lash is an insanely high and I think this is because Lash is an insanely popular, highly mobile pick hero whose success depends entirely on whether his team can execute high tempo burst plays or not. And lastly, Drifter is nasty, but 7 is disgusting. Drifter appears in 13 winning team comps, right here, 13 winning team comps, and 8 losing team comps, but 7 appears in 10 of the 20 top winning team comps and only 2 of the top 20 most frequent team comps. So, in conclusion, no, the macro class chart, this one, doesn't mean that mystics are weak or that marksmen are dominating. It means that if a team drafts 7 or some of the other mystics, they have unparalleled wave clear and area denial, that they statistically eliminate most paths to losing the game. You have to push waves to take objectives, and if you don't have a wave, you can't take objectives. Drifter is a premier pick that is good all around, and Lash requires an aggressive, up-tempo team comp to support him in ending the game quickly, while Infernus is a win secure, not a win con, when paired when set with 7, Drifter, and Lash. So finally, win rate alone doesn't tell you what the deadlock meta is. Meta influence, that is, win rate and presence, tells us which heroes are actually shaping the game. And once you account for team composition and synergy, the picture changes completely. So that was week 1. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this 80-hour data dive, drop a like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the numbers or any chart or what you disagree with me on. I would love to have a discussion. Learning. I will likely keep doing this for the next few weeks, if months. I really enjoyed this, and I think it'd be fun to keep doing this, especially while recording this video. I saw the patch drop and it just blew my mind. It just agreed with everything that I was saying, with many of the heroes that I argued that needed to be nerfed, and with many of the ones that either needed to be buffed or not touched at all. So yeah, thank you.